So there's this place called seekingalpha.com. I don't know one second. And there's another one called Alpha. That's an A. Okay. I don't spell well. Okay. I hope I write neater. Okay. So if you guys can like share a computer or just like go to the nearest one.
Well, that's me, because I really don't need it.
Yeah.
That's easy. You could be in charge of.
Just a quick and then you guys can look at mine if you want. So is this your water?
No. Those are mine.
Anyways, okay. So Seeking Alpha is like sort of like a newspaper, right? Except they write about stocks. It's usually about stocks, bonds, real estate, etc. So stocks, bonds, real estate. So what Seeking Alpha is like, do you know a lot of smart people in the world? They or just anybody, right? Let's say you know a lot about like buying houses. You know a lot about prices and stuff. You might post an article here, right? You can write an article, and people will say, "Oh, you suck. You don't know anything," or they'll say something nice, mean, whatever. But basically, I like this site a lot because usually there's a lot of good opinions. A lot of people from Seeking Alpha, they worked in the industry. So not just finance, right? Let's say you're looking at a fashion company, right? Somebody.
Is that O or P? P, right?
This is an A.
No.
And this is a P.
P.
Yeah. Okay, so SEEKINGALPHA, right? Okay. Right. Okay.
So they write articles they can like on like trends.
No, they write articles. They pick specific stocks, right? So let's say somebody was a shoe designer, or they work for a Prada, or like a fashion company, right? But they also know a little bit about finance. What they do is they would post a article about a fashion company, right? So they write about Prada, right? Say, oh, Prada's coming out with new suits for blah blah this season and stuff. And they think that, let's say Prada had a stock, which I think they do, and it's public, right? Then they would write about that stock because they know the most about it, right? So a lot of people, right, who are familiar with their industry, they write stuff about different stocks, bonds, real estate. They write about gold, silver, corn, right? So it's just like, it's interesting. So people from different backgrounds write stuff. And a lot of these articles are very complicated because sometimes you don't understand it. But what I like to do is, so we're going to be using this site, Investopedia.com, to simulate stocks and like bonds or like anything else similar to that, right? So what you guys, so it's really hard to get like a bond simulator, right? But what you can do is, so from stocks, you can have stocks that represent corn. You understand what that means? So for example, right, you have, let's say your stock, so on the stock exchange, you'll buy what's called an ETF. You don't need to write this down. And then it's going to be 1/10 price of corn. Right? So I'm just making this up, right? But let's say corn was like $10, right? That means when you buy this stock ETF, then it's worth $1. Now what this does is it allows you to, because let's say you want to invest in corn, right? You're not going to buy corn and then invest. because then your corn goes bad and you lose your money, right? Right? Same thing. Not only corn, meat, or anything else, right? So if you buy any of this, like for example, if you buy silver or gold, right? Some people do that, but that's like, gold is very heavy. So if you buy a big gold bar and you can't lift it up, you can't buy anything with it. So, does that make sense? Yeah. So that means from a stock simulator, we can, learn about like real estate, bonds, whatever. Okay, so let's actually get started. So Seeking Alpha, right? If you see at the top of the page, and you go to long and short ideas. Crap, I have to cover. You guys would remember what long and short were? So I was so long. You remember from the mock class? Long are just when you take a long position, you think the stock is going to go up, right? Remember this? This is just like when you're buying a stock or whatever. That means long in the future, you think it's going to go up. Boom, right? Short, you mean you think it's going to go down. And I actually got into what shorting was, but that's very complicated and I'm running a long time. So I'll probably cover it in the next class. But we'll see what happens. Right? Cool. So long and short ideas basically means that you're going to invest in companies that you think the price is going to go up. And if you think the price is going to go down, you can invest, you can do it that way. Right? So let's say, I don't know, let's say, let's say you think a clothing company is going to do bad, right? Just say like, I don't know, UG Incorporated. So nobody likes UG's clothes. So you think the price is going to go down? So you can short his stock and you'll make money. Because the more money UG loses, the more money you make. Okay? Okay. It makes perfect sense. Does that make sense, guys? So just know like long is up, short is down. You think the price is going to go down, you think the price is going to go up.
Could you give a quick example of long?
Sure. People usually go long all the big companies, like Google, Apple, McDonald's. These are good companies. Value is going to go up. Right? Short. For example, let's say insurance companies. Let's say there was like a typhoon. No, not a typhoon. Let's say, think of that. Let's say thunder killed a lot of people, right? So people who have life insurance, right? Insurance companies need to pay these people money when they die. So you would probably short these companies because when they pay money, right, they lose money. Does that make sense? So you can just think of any like short, just bad things. Think of bad things that are happening to these companies. We can actually get some ideas in a while. Or even if McDonald's, right, like if they, the fries gave you food poisoning, make your stomach hurt, then you can short it too. Because you think the price is going to go down. People get sick. We'll go over examples. Does that answer your question?
Yep.
Cool. But okay, let's finally do this. So at the top of Seeking Alpha, there's so if you guys see like home, portfolio, market currencies, just at the very top, right? Go to long and short ideas. Long and short ideas. Okay, cool. Right. So what does this tell you, right? These are ideas for long and short, right? Because even though like you might be very smart and you know a little bit about stuff, if you get a lot of people's opinions, you get ideas. So that's why I go to this site, because let's say I don't understand what this guy is analyzing. You know, he says something very complicated. I have no idea what he's saying. But he recommends a company, recommends a stock. I can look into that company by myself. Right? Does that make sense? So if he recommends like, let's say PYD, right? He recommends PYD, and he thinks PYD is going to grow a lot, right? I don't understand his article because he might do a lot of math and complicated stuff. I have no idea what he means, right? But just by saying PYD, I'll be like, okay, these are companies I can look at. So I can go research PYD by myself, find out what's happening in the news. Does that make sense? So these are just for ideas. I know Laura taught you how to read articles, but these articles get really tough. I don't understand some of them. So for example, right? If you guys scroll down, are you all with me? Long and short ideas. You can see in bold, right? Long ideas. Long, price is going to go up, right? And then you see like the heading of the article, right? So for example, you don't need to understand all this. So for example, let's pick a company. Okay. Actually, let's start with short ideas, because there's a cool company I want to look at. So if you look at short ideas, right, which is right under long ideas, it says, oh, after hours, going short on Starbucks, right? Everybody knows Starbucks, right? So there's Starbucks. Do you guys see where it is? Like I'm just looking at the title over here. Just short ideas. And you just read it to see if you find a stock. Right? So going short on Starbucks. Research in Motion. This is another company. Right? So you don't have to read the articles, but this is going to give us some ideas. What other companies you guys see there? There should be 5 just listed. They have a lot more actually. You can scroll down for thousands of years. But what other companies do you? Oh, actually, you don't see anything. So you see SanDisk as well, right? If you don't know the name of some of these companies, usually when you read the title, right, there's normal words and then there's a word that sounds like a company. So you can look it up later just to double check, right? So if you go to, at the top of short ideas, if you go to more, see the more section, you can just click it. There's a lot more ideas. So there's much more than 5 articles.
Scroll down.
Okay, they're good. Okay, so all these articles is just like what you were looking at. The top 5 is there, right? But like you're gonna try to look for more. There's gonna be like a join now. You don't have to do that. So you can just X out the join now.
Netflix is one of them.
Right. So okay. So is there any more? So after SanDisk, right? What else do you guys see? You see Netflix, right? That's another one. So I'm going to try to make a list of like 5 just to start off, right? Or, oh, really? Apple's there? Oh,
With
cool.
the apple.
Cool. Even Apple is here. So I'm going to write number 5, Apple. Shoot, can't even spell your name. And let's, like, give me 2 more.
Sears.
Sears, okay.
American Mobile.
Oh, right.
This company name.
Is it ExxonMobil? Have to check.
American Mobile.
Oh, it is. But, that's true. Okay. Let's do Texas Instruments. That's going to be maybe the list. Okay, so what you can do is we only made a small list here, right? But what you can do is you can search through thousands of pages. People write like 100 articles a day, right? So you can look at, keep going like more. And you can get all these ideas. Now what you want to do is, even if you have no finance background, what do you know the most about? Or what are you most interested about? Does that make sense? Because it's great to like do a technology company and try to figure out what they're doing. But if you're confused, never do it. Warren Buffett has a very famous saying that if you don't understand it, don't invest in it. Right? So pick something you're familiar with. So usually people are more familiar with like retail stores, right? Like Macy's, Macy's, Bloomingdale's, there's thousands of those department stores. Walmart, right? So from over here, right? What do you guys? What's a company you're familiar? Are you guys familiar with any companies here? Does anybody know what Starbucks is? So Starbucks is pretty popular. They're really big on like coffee here in the U.S. and then so it's pretty. It's a decent thing I know about. Does everyone know what Research in Motion is? So you're actually not familiar, but this company is actually really, really popular. Research in Motion makes Blackberries, right? So everybody has an iPhone now, right? But before in the past, Blackberries were the like newest smartphone. everybody use, so this company, it sounds very like, kind of weird, you don't really understand it. But they create Blackberries. They create all those Blackberries.